Welcome to Josh's House of Nerd podcast.
Hi, and welcome to Josh's House of Nerd. Grab a cold Evergreen Gobble Blue Milk and make yourself comfortable here at my House of Nerd. Today we're talking about the 2022 new movie by James Cameron, Avatar, The Way of Water, or Avatar 2, whatever you want to call it. And directed by James Cameron and starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, and a whole bunch of other stuff. What we got here? I've got Stephen Lang, Joel David Moore, CeCe Pounder, Giovanni Ribisi, Dilip Rao, Matt Gerald, Kate Winslet, Edie Falco, Jermaine Clement, and the list goes on and on. And we are returning to the planet of Pandora, right?
Yes.
16 years after the Na'vi have repelled the invasion of the Sky People, Jake Sully lives as the chief of the Omatakaya clan and raises a family with Neytiri, right? And they have sons Natia, Loak, and daughter Tuik, and adopted children Kiri, born from Grace Augustine's inert avatar, and Spider. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Let's go back to the people. I guess we'll go around the rest of the plot. Jake Sully moves out because to the water, the coral people out in the ocean because he's being hunted by the Sky People who have come back, and he is trying to save his people, his family, which is what this movie is really about, his family. And he goes out and joins the coral reef people to find their way, and tries to become one of them to protect him. And now that I've bumbled through this little bit of an intro, let's talk about this movie. I'm sure everybody's out there has heard about this movie. And me and my kids went to it yesterday, and if you guys have watched some of our Fry commercials, we have here, talking with us, we got Quentin, we got Giselle, we've got Aurora, and we've got Liliana there. And we saw this movie in 3D. And so let's talk about this movie, guys. What did we think about this movie? You guys can talk amongst yourselves. What did you think about it? Some of you guys had only seen Avatar, the first one, the day before we went and saw this movie. Yeah. So you guys actually got Avatar and Avatar 2 and pretty much within a couple of days. What did you guys think about Avatar and Avatar 2? We're mostly focusing on Avatar 2, but we can still talk about it, regular Avatar. What do you guys think?
I'll let you guys talk first since I was the only one who had seen it before.
They're really pretty movies.
Yeah, they are.
What were your favorite things you guys found about the movie?
I liked how it was really centered towards nature.
Okay. What other things about nature did you like about it?
I don't know, just the forest and how pretty it was, and then in the second movie, the oceans and the animals there. I thought it was really pretty.
Okay.
I really liked the way they use their hair bits to merge with animals.
Yeah, that was cool, huh? Yeah, that is cool. That's a really cool thing that happens in the Avatar. They can talk to the animals through their kind of connection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. One of the things we talked about when we left the movie last night was how one of the things we thought was pretty. We discussed the plot a little bit. What did you guys think about the plot?
I really liked it. I liked the second movie a lot better than the first one. I don't know, I preferred the storyline a lot better. I really liked the family dynamic of everything. I really liked the family part of the plot and everything like that. And it was a really exciting movie. It was a really entertaining movie overall.
I mean, it was a 3-hour movie.
It was.
Did you guys feel tired? Did you guys feel like it lulled in spots? Did you think it was action-packed all the way through, or kept you involved the whole way?
I feel like it just didn't make sense at some points.
Okay.
Especially with the plot with the Sky People, it just didn't make sense. It feels like that part of the plot wasn't as developed.
Yeah, also with the guy part of, like, is now an avatar. Like, come back that was killed in the first
The
one.
main villain, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a little weird how they kind of it felt a little inserted, like, oh, he was dead. Oh, well, we saved his brain.
No, that felt really weird. Like, they couldn't
saved
think of
his
any
life.
other villain to put in.
And they really didn't-
They just kind of like, well, he's the only villain that we could think of, so
No,
let's
don't
find
get
a
me wrong.
way.
They
There
really
was
didn't
another
explain
general,
it.
though, Edie Falco's character.
That's true.
She's a wonderful actress. I really like her in a lot of things. And she did a really good job in this, but one thing with Edie Falco's character as the general, I didn't feel like she was utilized enough.
No, she was like almost. She wasn't in it like barely at all.
I feel like she's going to be like more of a in the future character.
Yeah.
Right. What else did you guys, think about the plot? Did you think it was good? I mean, the most of the focus was the family and protecting the family. That's why they moved to the coral reef with the coral people. And a lot of the movie was around their them being a family and then getting to know the ways of the water people, right?
Yeah, the coral.
And I can't remember their tribe name off the top of my head, but a lot of it was done like that. And one of the things I think that was really fantastic about this movie was I'm glad we saw it in 3D because I think the parts on the land, it was awesome in 3D, in the forest and all that stuff. But I've got to be honest, the parts under the water were absolutely fantastic. I thought whenever they were under the water with 3D, it was done really well. And one of the reasons I can reference this really well was I remember I saw Resident Evil 4, I think is what it is. I think it's Afterlife. And one of the scenes in that is that I saw it in 3D, and one of the opening scenes of that movie, they go underwater in 3D, and it felt like a mucky, like blurry mess with the underwater scenes in that Resident Evil movie. Whereas under this movie, I actually thought it almost felt clearer. Like it was crystal clear, beautiful. The colors were just striking. I every time they went in water, and you guys can kind of jump in here. Every time they went in water, I thought it was like amazingly beautiful.
Yeah.
I was like hypnotized almost. What were your guys' feelings?
The underwater scenes were really cool. From what I could pay attention to, the 3D kind of messed with my mind a little bit, but from what I was able to pick up, the underwater scenes were really cool, and they were a lot easier to watch than the shots on land. I feel like they were smoother and interacted with the 3D a lot better than the land scenes did.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I just noticed I didn't feel as nauseous or as seasick or whatever when they were fully underwater than when they were on land. It was a really weird thing. I don't know if it was just the water made it more smooth, but the shots underwater were a lot smoother and a lot easier to watch than the land scenes.
Okay.
I really liked the underwater stuff in 3D because you can see more of the fish, the coral, all plant life, and it just feels like you're actually there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that too. I love the interaction with the fish. I love the whole story about the whales.
Yeah.
How they were very intelligent beings. They were just almost like another set of people that lived in the ocean. I thought that was really neat.
And they're really important to the coral people.
Oh yeah, they were just like another part of their family. I mean, they celebrated them in the middle of the movie that they were returning from their migration pattern, and they were genuinely family. They could talk to them, they could communicate with them, and I thought that was a really, really, really cool thing.
Yeah, the fact that they found a way to communicate with the animals through a version of sign language. I thought that was a really cool thing. Them having to learn a version of sign language so that they could communicate underwater because so much of their lives was underwater.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool thing.
No, I agree.
I thought it was really cool how they learned the way of the other people and how they learned how to deal with water. I thought the scenes where that one girl, the coral girl, was teaching them how to breathe. I thought that part was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the later scenes, how his son that was taught his dad how to breathe also.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
I also thought the parts were cool with, okay, so one thing we'll go into a little bit of the cons, but one of the cons I had was the one daughter. I can't remember her name, but she was the one daughter of Sigourney Weaver's Avatar.
Kitty. Her name is Kitty.
Kitty?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep.
I always used to heard Kitty
Yeah.
a lot, but Kitty.
Kitty.
I know that's supposed to be a mystery. They were trying to present. They didn't go into it very much about how Kitty came to be and how Sigourney Weaver's Avatar gave birth to this being. Her, and how Sigourney Weaver's Avatar was even around. Supposedly, I mean, she died in the first one, but that doesn't mean her avatar died. Her avatar, I guess was still alive, even though, Sigourney Weaver's character was dead. I'm guessing that's what happened, and that, that avatar gave birth somehow, and to Kitty. And how that was supposed to be, they showed the avatar of Sigourney Weaver's character, Grace, but in a tank, but that was it. So I wish they would have gone into a little bit more detail about that, because I felt a little lost. But, okay, that's my con on that part.
No, I agree.
There were multiple areas where it was just a lot of unknowns that didn't seem as developed as, like, the family part of it.
Yeah, they kind of glazed over.
Yeah, a lot of things they were adding in there that, I don't know, didn't make a lot of sense of the plot that I hope that they will address in, like, later movies. Whatever that, like, my thinking is that they might address it later. And everything, they just didn't get to it in this movie. I don't know.
Well, and it's weird that all of a sudden now that Minel's, the Colonel, Teller, all of a sudden had a son.
Yeah, that was a
I mean, you wouldn't have thought. I mean, in my mind, I would have thought, okay, he wouldn't even have had a wife or I don't know, maybe he had a girlfriend. I don't know.
None of that was mentioned in the movie,
and then,
so it seemed very sudden. And all of a sudden,
I guess
he has a son.
The baby was supposed to be in like the tanks as well, but it didn't work or something.
No, the baby was just too young to go into cryo sleep to go back to Earth.
And so it was just left with the scientists who stayed on Pandora because there was no other way.
Okay, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, that part didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I think they're just trying to add Spider in there as another
I really liked the character
plot.
of Spider. I really thought that he was a really awesome character, but his whole addition to the story and everything like that didn't make a whole bunch of sense.
They introduced him, and then he wasn't in a good chunk of the movie. He
Right.
wasn't in
just kind of staying.
like I would say 75% of the movie.
I have a real big confusion about when the people from Earth came and took the juice from the whale's brains.
Yeah,
that was a big
weird.
So a big part of the plot in the movie was, they were trying to draw out Jake Sully from the coral reef people, and the people that they took to go find and look for Jake Sully's family and Terry's family was they were whalers basically, and one of the things that the whales had, kind of like whale oil back in the day, was that they would kill them, and then there was a substance within their brains that apparently stopped aging completely in humans.
And it's worth like $80
million for a little while.
It's worth a ton of money.
So that part they were doing, they were kind of showing, and I know that James Cameron was probably making he was kind of making a not so subtle, jab at the whaling industry, that still occurs in a lot of countries. That has been outlawed in a lot of the world, but not all of it. And, which is still a huge problem. And they're such majestic creatures even shown in this movie. But yeah, I mean, that's what the substance was. So, but that's, they kind of made a big deal of that. Makes you got to wonder if that's going to be like a big thing in the next movie as well. So, let's go around the room here, guys. What was a favorite thing and what was a hated thing? Oh, well, I was going to say one more thing that I really liked about Kitty. Mm-hmm. I liked how she was. It's almost like they're trying to pass her off as they don't know who her father is. Almost like a Jesus type character. You know, in the sense that they don't know who the father was. She was just almost like what they call an immaculate conception, and all this, but she had powers.
Well, she was very connected to other like deity or whatever. I don't remember what the deity's name is.
She was.
But she
Awa.
Awa. Yeah, she always like. I think it was a thing because of the fact that Grace, when like right before she died, was they were trying to switch her back into her avatar so she would be saved, and then she went back to Awa. Then maybe like because of that she has a greater connection with Awa. But I thought that whole thing with that was really cool. Like the powers and the connections that she had with Awa that she was able to use to help her and save the family.
And that was a huge part at the end. I thought that was pretty awesome how she could tap into Awa, and how she was able to save them at the end in the boat that died. By the way, that was a really cool action. I thought that was a really good action scene.
Yeah, that ending part was really cool.
So those are some of my big perks. There's actually quite a few scenes in this movie. The action, the things like that. That I thought was really good. It makes me want to watch it again. So okay, pros and cons.
I think a good thing about like both of the movies is they talk about like issues that are like within the world, but like in a fantasy like really cool type of way.
That's a good point that you brought up too, Aurora, because actually, you guys always wonder why I like science fiction so much. Why I like fantasy so much. The best science fiction out there, which is a lot like Star Trek and things like that. The best science fiction is these things. It's political things. It's things that are happening within our world that need to be fixed, that need to be addressed. And that they're doing it and they dress it up in like a fantasy or a science fiction type scenario.
That almost makes it easier to swallow.
Yeah. And they're trying to make these points in Avatar as well without hitting us over the head with a lot of these points, but still making a point in this fantastical area. So I think that's a really good point that you made, Aurora.
It also just like gives you an idea of like it was a lot of like colonization kind of things of like how it would be to be there.
Yeah.
It gives you a little bit of an idea.
Gives you perspective about maybe how the American Indians were treated as well, or even like you can go back as the Mayans or the all of the South American Aztecs.
All like the native tribes, native peoples of like all the different lands.
And how they were treated, because they're definitely treating them in a similar fashion.
Yeah, giving a perspective, like a modern, idea of like what it was like for them and how, just making a point of how terribly they were treated and how, we need to change that and all of that sort of stuff. Just a new way of thinking about it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Because I think a lot of like the way that we think about it in a way of it being in the past and history and all that sort of stuff. So it makes it so that it's more of like in a modern lens and a modern way to think about it and understand it.
And you would know, being the history major.
I am a history major, yes.
I have a big red flag in the second movie.
What's that?
Near the end, one of Jake's kids die, and in the movie he was introduced. That does not make sense.
Okay, that was actually one of my... it was sad, but it was a really cool scene, especially when he was like... They were celebrating his life, and he was like brought back to Awa. That scene was so beautiful.
That was beautiful.
Yeah,
how he was taken into like the coral. I think that was really cool.
I'm gonna be honest; it teared me up a little bit too. I mean, I can't imagine like even losing one of you guys.
No,
and it just made me feel that way a little bit.
As sad as it was, I wasn't totally surprised because I think it is one of the things that like you can use like just to show the horrors of war and just to show how horrible it is. A similar situation of like me as a lover of the Hunger Games, how they kill off Prim at the end of the movie, which I hate. It's a similar situation showing that like war is terrible and that nobody is spared when it comes to war. Even like the most innocent of those involved ends up, being taken and all that sort of stuff.
Even the things you try to protect.
Yeah, and I think it's a good commentary on just like the horrors of war and how horrific it can be and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I definitely made that connection between just different things. So.
Agreed.
And my biggest green flag is when one of Jake's sons connects to the memories of a rebelled whale.
The outcast.
Of the outcast.
Yeah, the
whale.
outcast.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really cool.
And that was really cool, wasn't it? And he found out the truth that he was protecting those. He was trying to protect them. He didn't actually kill
Yeah, and
people.
the
right?
scene inside of the whale was really pretty.
Yeah, it almost felt like a Jonah and the whale type scenario.
Yeah.
He went inside to find like his peace, his yeah. I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of cool too.
Do you two want to say stuff?
Yeah, what were the pros and cons
Pros
of
and
Giselle?
cons
I
Pros
was
and cons?
gonna say I've seen a lot of stuff about how, with the character designs of the Reef People, they definitely brought in a lot of Pacific Islander looks, and in the way that you could even see that in the difference between their braiding styles. That with the Forest People, they had a lot of dreadlocks, and they had a specific style of almost cornrows where it looked a specific way, and then you see the Reef People, and they had very different styles.
It was more wavy.
They had more of their hair down, and they had the specific the shells with the braids that went down on their foreheads.
They reminded me of didn't we talking about
The
the
Maori-
Maori people?
the
Yeah, there was a
Maori
certain
people,
part
or-
where there was a tie-in to the Maori people, the Native people of New
Or
Zealand. And
they
thought that
had
was
a
cool.
lot of the same tattoos and the spiritual tattoos all over their bodies that
Yeah.
a lot of those sort of people have.
The designs of the Reef People were so pretty.
They're very pretty.
Yeah.
No, agreed. I think they were beautifully done.
I also think that the animals, even with Forest and the Water People, the animals were really pretty. I don't know what they're called, but they're the things that they rode on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the fish, the
Little
flying fish,
dragon,
flying
things.
fish animals. Yeah, those were cool.
They were cool. I thought the technology was really cool within this movie too. The ships, it's like James Cameron, took it the next step up when it came to the technology. The ship at the end that it goes after them is pretty amazing. It's huge and it's powerful.
Yeah, it is.
I noticed something that giant ship
Mm-hmm.
that they have. It kind of represents a bigger version of the whales that the Reef People think that they're family with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Anything else you guys want to say to the people out there about your review? Should we do reviews or should we do?
Well, I mean, did we make sure we got all of everybody's pros and cons?
Did everybody get their pros and cons?
I
Wait,
have
Aurora, did you
one
do
thing
pros and cons?
that I was thinking about earlier that I don't know if this is a pro or a con, but I feel like they're set up the exact same way. Both of them have the same sort of, I don't know. In the first one, he is introduced to the people, he gains their trust, he becomes and then they outcast him, and then they welcome him back. And that exact same thing happens in the second one, where they go to the new land, they meet the new people, they get welcomed by the new people, they get outcasted by the new people, and then they get welcomed back in by the new
They
people.
redeem themselves.
Yeah, that was
I'm not going to say there's a lot of similar plot points from the first one to the second one, just in different locations. I'm not going to disagree with that at all.
No, when you pointed out, yeah, they are kind of similar.
There was a lot of
So
similar kind of plot points in it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it was just noticeable. I mean, you can't. It's hard to reinvent the wheel every single time. And what I think James Cameron did is he took a similar story, took a twist to it a little bit more, and then added threw another angle to it, and then up the ante a little bit more. The technology was improved. I thought the acting was great.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly enjoyed getting to know his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one of my favorite parts, getting to know the family, getting to know their different personalities and all of that sort of stuff. You really get to know the family well, and you really get attached to them, which makes, yeah.
If you they kind of go along with that, you got to see their family more than Jake Sully and Natiri actually.
No, I was
You
just
get
thinking
the
that,
story
yeah.
is honestly more focused on the kids, and then it goes into the villain story and everything like that. But when it goes into the tribe and all that sort of stuff, it's more focused on the kids and their story and their them learning and all of that sort of stuff. Those were some of my favorite scenes, where like the kids learning about the ways of the people and all that sort of stuff, and them as they learn this thing that seems like incredibly daunting, that the way that they befriend the reef people and the way that they kind of grow more confident. Like those were just some of my favorite scenes, when they were learning and growing and really like growing, like becoming more and more accepted by the reef people. I really liked that.
Yeah. All right. Any more pros and cons? Did you have any pros and cons, Aurora, or did you already get out what you? She already did hers.
She got her pro.
My pro is it's a really pretty movie. It has like really good points like in the world. Has really good. What's the word for that?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Has a lot of really good. What's the word? Like ways to. I don't know, views on the world. Things that we need to change in like a fantasy sense, which I thought was cool. The cons were there was a lot of confusing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was. I mean, personally.
Even I felt that.
Yeah, personally for me, I think my biggest things were, and it was just like plot points that I agree had to be there or something like that situation. I didn't like. There were some points of violence and all that sort of stuff. I just thought was really sad, and it made me really sad. Like it wasn't necessarily a con. It just made me sad. Like when they had the scene where they had to kill the whale, that was like.
That was sad.
That was so sad.
That was pretty awful.
That was one of my, like, I don't know. That's not necessarily a con, just one part that I was like, that kind of just made me sad.
It doesn't have to be a con to make you sad.
No, it wasn't, because I think that it, was a good, like, thing in there, made sense for, as part of the story and everything like that, but it still made me sad.
It's a good pretty movie, but it just, there's some parts that definitely don't make sense to me.
What's that?
I really like the mixture of the animals. My favorite one was definitely the whales. I also liked that like stingray type fish who like if it's connected to like someone, it can make them breathe like forever underwater. Oh
yeah, the underwater angel thing.
Yeah.
That they connected to. Yeah, that was really cool. A good point.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good point. That thing was awesome. It brought a very angelic kind of point to Kitty. Because Kitty used it to save them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Should we go to ratings?
Yeah.
Did you guys want to give it a rating number?
Yeah.
All right. Giselle, what do you think? On a scale of 1 to 10.
I give it an 8.5.
Okay.
Out of 10.
All right. 8.5 out of 10. Great. Aurora.
I give it an 8. Or like 8.5. It was a really good, pretty movie. But just all the things we've said before. It was confusing and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I also would give it like an 8.5. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought that it was really entertaining, like, and for the most part, like, throughout the entire movie, like, I never felt really bored or anything like that. Like, I felt like very, like, whether it was like visual things or whatever, I always felt like very entertained and very, it was very intriguing, like, all the way through. I think that, I really hope with all those confusing things that they are further explained in further movies and all that sort of stuff, just so that they can make a lot more sense, because I think that would really, like, help boost this movie up, because overall this movie was really, really
There's
good.
supposed to be a third and a fourth.
Yeah, so I hope in the further movies they kind of clear those things up, so it can kind of maybe make the movie make a little bit more sense and flow a little bit better.
Yeah,
Just make
I
it
agree.
even better than it already was, because it was really good.
I agree with that. Who's next?
Quentin.
Quentin, what's your score?
I give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Wow.
You liked it that much, huh?
Yeah. I really liked it. It's like 10% better than the first one to me.
10%. Wow.
Only 10.
10 or 20%.
He really liked it.
I would also give this a movie an 8 out of 10. I thought the direction was really well. I thought the action was good. I thought the story, though predictable, I did think that the story, I don't think it necessarily has to have plot twists or anything like that. I think it was well put together. Yeah, there was maybe some rehash of plots and things like that, but again, I think James Cameron switched it up a little bit, and I think that he stepped up the The CGI work was even better from the
CGI
original
was
Avatar.
incredible.
Oh yeah,
It was
like
amazing.
even in the first Avatar, every once in a while I would see that their mouth would be out of sync a little bit. In this one, I don't think I keyed into once feeling that way.
No, I think all the issues that I found were issues but maybe we found with the 3D and not necessarily CGI or anything like that. No, the CGI was amazing.
And again, the CGI was great. The underwater was phenomenal. I mean, the overall movie was just directed well, shot well, beautiful, just beautiful. Beautiful. The cinematography on this is just incredible. So that's why I give it an 8. So I think that kind of wraps it up. It sounds like overall we really liked it.
Yeah,
Really liked it. Yeah, it was really good. And all I can say is I'm glad we went and watched it, and I can't wait to see the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. As a matter of fact, when it comes to Blu-ray, I'm gonna buy it. I'll get it first thing. That's how much I liked it and stuff. That's usually with my ratings. I usually say, if you haven't listened to our podcast, it's usually I give my rating and then if I would buy it or not. And I would buy this one, definitely. I would definitely rewatch it. I only buy what I would rewatch, so definitely would buy this movie. So thank you for joining us. Thank you to all my kids for joining me in this review. It's always awesome when you guys can do this with me. As we continue to try to put out more movie reviews for the channel. More and more movies we do here. We're going to be doing more contests, food contests in the future with these guys. And we're going to be doing everything we can to talk about TV, movies, anything nerdy, right? And as always, may you be excellent to each other and live long and prosper. From all of us here at Josh's House of Nerds. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. For more nerdy awesomeness, please like and subscribe.